I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I
I am California of the past.
Catherine Bridge and her husband Art were longtime residents of Rancho Cucamonga. Recently, Catherine told her story about her experience during World War II as a civilian ferrying different kinds of military aircraft from airbase to airbase. She and a brave group of women were called WASPs.
Women's Air Force Service Pilots. Originally, we were just civil servants, hired under that. We had no insurance. For example, there were 38 women killed over the whole history of the WASPs, and there was no money to get them home to the bodies, home to their families. The women ourselves, the WASPs, would raise money, and one of us would take the person back to their home. And as far as insurance went, fortunately, we were all very healthy, you know, and we didn't have health problems other than flu and so forth. I think that people always ask, how did you get along, women doing a man's job? And as I recall, they were gentlemen. You know, we'd be carrying our B4 bag, that's our big bag when we had room for carrying more things with us, and our parachute, we'd be carrying this load out to the airplane or coming back in through doors or anything. They'd help us, or they'd open the doors and hold them for us. At first, I know when we went to the pursuit school that was set up for a transition for all the ferrying pilots to learn to fly the fighter planes, be prepared for doing it. There was a lot of doubt at first. I was in just the first and a half class. Missed the first class because I was stuck with an airplane with problems. There was a lot of wondering, could we do it, you know? But as soon as they found out that we were qualified and had experience, they accepted us as one of them. What happened? One time I took an AT-6, the Advanced Trainer, which is a very nice North American plane, and picked it up, and it was supposed to go to a base down in South Texas, which was a mechanical base where they just took out, when something was wrong, they took it out and put in another. You know, it was the major repair work. And I was taking this AT-6 down there. Everything seemed to be going fine, and then all of a sudden the engine quit. And there was the propeller, you know, stuck like that. And what to do but look around? Well, I was right in the pattern of the airport where I was going. So I just made a gliding land and landed. And then, of course, I couldn't taxi off the runway, and I didn't have radio, so I couldn't contact the tower to come out and get me. So I climbed out of the plane and sat on the edge of the plane until finally they set out one of the, you know, the carts, the trailers to bring me in. So things like that would happen. Years later, a Navy pilot who was a carrier pilot asked me the question, how many different planes have you flown? Not how many, but how many different types, like P-40, P-51, so forth. And I had never thought of that as being important. Well, apparently it is the Navy pilots, because they only fly one. You know, really, so they have to be so perfect in landing to catch that tail hook on the carriers that different planes have different landing speeds and so forth. So they're not allowed to experiment. So I counted them up, and I have 20 different military models and about 6 civilian models. So I recount them every time. I might even say 21, but I'm not going to until I actually check it out. We could take passengers, and I was flying a plane that had 2 seats. I was the pilot in it. The back seat was empty, and I was I think it was Wichita, Kansas. And this young private came up and said, you know, I'm trying hard to get home, and I've only got a week's leave, and I want to get home fast if I can, not take a bus or a train. Can you take me? And I said, sure. I was going to Philadelphia. No, I guess it's Pittsburgh. I've forgotten. One of those two cities. And so he climbed in the back seat, and of course there wasn't any intercommunication between us, and so we flew east and flew, and it got foggier and smoggier, and as we came closer to the city, and finally it was instrument weather. Well, we weren't to fly on instruments. We'd all had instrument training for just this sort of situation in case of need, but to find the airport would have been pretty difficult and maybe bad, impossible for me to find it. So I turned around, did the good old 180, and flew back and landed in Kansas again. And we both climbed out of the plane, and this private came up to me and said, thanks so much, you know, you saved give me hours of leave. And I said, you're where you started. Poor kid. The program was dissolved before the war was over, which was very difficult for us to take. We were let go, and the war was still on for another 6 months. And at that point, we were highly qualified and had a lot of experience in the job. And the program ended, and it was entirely political. When the program was set up, we were praised, you know, we were relieving a man to go fight in the war. And then as the war wound down, and Germany, the anticipated Germany collapse, the flying schools were cut back. They weren't training as many cadets. And that meant that the instructors were not needed anymore of the flying schools. And then they suddenly, this group of people discovered that women were flying. And it meant that they were facing the draft. And so they went to Congress with a big objection that women were taking their jobs. And it was entirely political.
Finally, in 2009, President Obama formally recognized the brave women who served as WASPs during World War II by presenting them with the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest honor the United States can present to a civilian. Congratulations to you, Catherine, on this great honor. Rancho Cucamonga is proud to have you as a lifelong resident.